Hello, this is Monica Sawyer. Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women, where we focus on all aspects of real estate investing, including strategies, mindset, emotional mastery, money smarts, and so much more to ensure your success. If you'd like to learn my personal favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. You can also listen to this episode on the Real Estate Investing for Women podcast on iTunes. Now, let's welcome our guest. Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show my friend Anna Scheller. Anna is an award-winning podcaster, speaker, and TV show host. She coaches entrepreneurs to develop strategies that result in more sales for their businesses while creating profit for future growth. She began her business career as a real estate investor, which is why she's on the show, and has learned many lessons as a result. She is currently the executive member and founder of Capri Temporary Housing and still actively invests in real estate, albeit with more experience. She co-hosts the Black Belt Selling with her daughter, Stephanie, and has her own show, Sales Mastery, which airs on iTunes and Roku TV. Why Black Belt Selling? Anna just achieved her 4th degree Black Belt in Taekwondo at the age of 58. Yay! Anna is the mother of 7 children and is married to Phillip Scheller, and they live in Del Rio, Texas. Hello there, Anna. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Monica, I'm looking forward to being on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me.
My pleasure. This is going to be really fun. So actually, Anna, you and I have only talked about investing. Tell us a little bit about this other company that you're running.
Well, it actually came out of the real estate investing situation. It could be a very long story, but the short version is we started buying properties and we ended up with a fourplex in the midst of all of that. And someone had come to me when we had the fourplex and said, hey, what would you charge me to furnish it? So I gave him the price and he goes, no, I could do it for cheaper, but I still want to rent from you, which sparked the idea. I wonder if there's a market for this. So I actually, in that fourplex, as people started to leave, I set up one apartment for just furnishing it. And I can go into more detail later how that ended up working out. But it morphed into, that started the temporary housing business. And we hit a place where we were doing extremely well. We rapidly grew. I mean, we went from like 8 units, we were up to like 30 units in the space of 3 months, which is rapid growth.
Wow.
It was hard. It was difficult. I wasn't prepared for it. Hence some of the fun little mistakes I made. But what ended up happening when that market changed, because it was very much government driven, and when there was a change in administration, that market dried up. And the problem was I didn't know how to find more people who needed what I was providing. And so that sent me on a search to figure out what I needed to do. I had very little marketing experience. I didn't have any sales training. And so I really felt very lost. So the following year, I ended up getting sales training, discovered that I was afraid of objections, which was what was holding me back. The corporate housing is a pricey item. So, I was afraid of the people would say, well, that's too expensive, or they actually personally attack you for the price kind of situation. And when I was going through that training, using that training opened up more doors for the corporate housing company. But then I was so excited about the training, I started just telling people how to sell. And my trainer at the time, Eric Lofholm, invited me to become one of his trainers and sell his program. So that's how I ended up in sales training. And then my daughter came on board. She went through his program. And then she and I started the podcast Black Belt Selling. And so everything's kind of morphed to where I am doing both. I am doing the coaching and the podcasting, as well as the corporate housing. And they actually work really well together. I stay in the sales training space because like everybody, I just need to be reminded of the things I should be doing, because you can get so complacent, Monica. You can
Yeah.
get so to where, oh yeah, or you get a flood of people coming in and you think that's going to be your bread and butter for a while. And suddenly you're not working your sales process. And before you know it, you don't have any more clients. And that's whether you're a real estate investor, whether you are renting properties, or whatever you're doing.
Hmm. It's so interesting because I think that's true. Like our place where we need real reminders is a great place to focus even a portion of our daily work, right? Like I grew up in a place where I was bullied and tormented and became a very depressed person. And so bliss has been my journey my whole life.
Mhm.
And part of why I continue to focus on it is for that daily reminder that this is important for me. I need to continue to work on my skills. I mean, I think I'm a really blissful person now, and there are times when I kind of fall off the wagon. I stop doing my practices. And then I realize I'm just not as happy, not as blissful as I normally am when it continues to be kind of a part of the things that I'm focusing on through my day. And this podcast really helps me to keep that focus so that
Mhm.
I can stay more blissful. I mean, this podcast serves me in so many ways. I love that it serves so many women, but part of it is just that it really reminds me of what's important for me too and keeps me focused on that. So I totally, totally get that.
Well, and it was so funny because earlier I was sharing with you a story that it was a costly story, thankfully not
Mhm.
as costly as it could have been. And as I was getting ready for the podcast, I kept thinking to myself, but I'm doing this for the good of my family. I'm doing this because it's fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
the situation's not fun, but there's bliss even to be found. There's joy to be found even in that situation.
Yeah.
So, the fact that I only lost $500 and not $2,100, those are the kinds of things. And I thought, yeah, there's real bliss. There's real truth in choosing to be joyful in spite, because stuff's going to happen every day. Are you going to let it pull you down, or are you going to look at it, see the lesson you can pull from it, and move forward? And that is also a journey that I've had to take through my investing years as well.
Yeah. And I love how you say that because it is a choice, right? My book's called Choose Bliss, right? So it is a choice. And it does, like you say, it doesn't mean that challenges don't come up. It doesn't mean that you don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that you don't fall off the wagon. It doesn't mean that you get depressed or angry or whatever, right? Life is still happening.
Yep.
But if your focus is on living a blissful life, if that's your priority, then you develop the skills to continue to come back to that place. And over time, as you practice, it gets easier and easier. It becomes kind of your default. And then
Mm-hmm.
you kind of are able to rise back to that so much more blissfully and easily rather than it being work. And then when life tries to pull you down, you're able to pull yourself back up and the people you love also. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So let's back up a little bit. Talk it to us about how you got started.
Well, it's one of those really funny married stories, if I might say so.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, a friend of my husband's and mine, gave us this book and said, "You guys really need to read it." Now, my husband wasn't into that kind of stuff. I was about, let's see, I was probably 6 or 7 months pregnant with the seventh child. And I bought the book and started reading it in bed. Now, we had been investing in other things. So we had invested in mortgage securities. So we had that situation going. My husband was really looking at how he could do the stock market, So investing wasn't something new, particularly to him. And he would come to me and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I didn't know squat. I'm just thinking, you're the smart one, make a decision. So I let him pretty much make most of the decisions. But I'm reading this book. Now, we never invested in real estate. We bought a couple of homes, but we bought 3 homes, and we'd never invested in real estate beyond our own homestead. And of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks about the absolute benefit of real estate investing. So we're both in bed reading our separate books, and I've got a little bit of a belly, and I've got a kid kicking me in the meantime. And I'm reading this book, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about real estate investing, honey?" And he goes, "Oh, it's too risky." I go, "Oh, okay." So put the book down. I continued to read the book, but now I'm thinking and thinking, and I don't remember saying anything to him about it again. But 2 years later, he picks up the book, and in picking up the book, he leans over to me in bed. We're reading our books. Our baby now is 2 years old, and then of course the rest of them. And he looked at me and he goes, "So what do you think about investing in real estate?" I said, "Babe, I think that's a great idea."
I'm so glad you thought of it.
I know, right? I learned that
really, it's got to be your idea, right?
Yeah, it was so funny. So we actively started looking for real estate. We went to Robert Kiyosaki at that time had a real estate investing school seminar type of thing. It was a 3-day event in Scottsdale. We paid all the money. I think we spent about $15,000 by the fees, and then staying in the posh hotel and eating out and doing all these things that we were like, wow, this would be really cool to make this happen. And right after that, I had spotted a property. It was actually by what I do now, I wouldn't say it was a bargain back then, but to us, it was a bargain. So we invested in that property. That was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage. And we still own that property today. And I'll be honest with you, it has probably been the steadiest rental property we've ever owned. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my husband about selling it so we could pull the equity out and start investing in bigger things. And he's like, "Why would we do that? We make so much money." And I'm laughing going, "There's so much more money to be made. Stop it." So that's how we got into real estate investing. And like I say, that was probably our biggest success story. We bought the house for $95,000. The house, if I sold it today, I could sell it for easily $160,000. Easily. We've owned it for about 16 years.
Okay. Very, very nice. And so then you started getting into multifamily. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, all of the books tell you should get a mentor. So we got a mentor, and I spotted this fourplex, but I wasn't ready to step out. Mm-hmm. I was looking at single family homes. By this point, we had picked up 2 more single family homes by the time we saw this quad. And let me see. So I mentioned it to the mentor, and the mentor said, "Go for it. You need to get it." And I'm like, no. I don't think so. So he took us through the steps to start negotiating for the property. Again, this property was not a great bargain, but the potential cash flow was good. So what ended up happening was, by the time we got around to putting the offer in, another offer had gone in. So we were the backup. We were encouraged by the realtor to put in the offer. She said, because this one, I guess realtors must talk. This one looks really shaky. It looks like they're not going to be able to pull this off. So sure enough, their offer fell through and ours came up on the table next. Now, up until this point too, we'd also done some spec homes. So we built some homes and sold them. So we had a little bit of cash. We also had some land that we had purchased. So our portfolio is, for beginners, we were doing okay. And but we ended up with this fourplex, and that was our first fourplex. We went on to pick up another fourplex maybe a couple of years later, when we were able to start really getting the furnished housing underway. And then we picked up a couple of duplexes. We've since sold all of those properties. And when we talk about mistakes, I'll share some of our fun little mistakes in that. But it was, the thing that we did was we took the steps anyway. I'll be honest, I was scared. I was afraid of stepping out and doing something that I wasn't sure I could pull off, because I knew my own tendency to draw back when I was talking to people. I knew my tendency to just let people go when they offered objections to renting from us. It was too high. It was this, it was that. Excuse me. So I was really scared, and yet it turned out to be a big turning point in our business. And it was there that opened up to us the corporate housing, which is the ongoing business that we have now. If it wasn't for that, I would not be doing what I'm doing.
Mm. Tell us a little bit about sort of the evolution and some of the mistakes that you made. And, part of why I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Anna, but I really want the ladies to hear that mistakes happen and it's okay. That we can do things in spite of our fear and be successful. We can make mistakes and be successful. I've had people on the show that built a business, lost everything in the 2008 crash, and have built multi-million-dollar businesses since then. So really and part of what you and I had talked about before is just that there was a lot of these moments of fear that you had to step through. There were a lot of mistakes that you made that you had to say, okay, I need to learn from this and just move on instead of giving up. Because you know what? The thing is that if you make a mistake and you stop, then you stopped at the mistake. I mean, that's kind of that's intuitive, right?
Yeah,
but if you make a mistake and you move, then you didn't stop at the mistake. Now you get to experience the success, right? So,
right.
And this is one of those things that you've really done very well. Not that you've made a lot of mistakes, but that when you make the mistakes, you're able to move through it. So that's kind of the conversation that I'm really interested in having.
Yes. Well, one of the mistakes, we can go, one of the properties that we purchased, I was so eager to buy property. I think this is very common among early investors. I was really, really eager to start scooping up property. I mean, I would drive by something and I would go, oh my gosh, I think we should get that. All right. My poor husband, I was just driving him crazy. So there was this one, I so did. So there was this one property. It was being sold by a pastor and his wife. They'd moved on and they were trying to sell it. And at the time it was like $96,000. And, but for us to buy it was going to cost us, like, it wasn't even the normal cost. We were going to actually have to pull money from somewhere else to do this and that. We actually paid them to sell the property to us. I can't remember how it worked, but I just remember my husband thinking, you're screwing up, Anna. You're really messing up. I'm like, no. It's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. And that property, we just sold that property this year. So we purchased it, I want to say, in 2007. And that property ended up becoming a money pit, to be honest. Mm-hmm. The mistakes I made to the property were, number one, I didn't sit down and I didn't look at what was a realistic rent that we could get for that property, because we weren't looking at it as a flip. We were looking at it as a rental. So there's two ways to invest in real estate. One is that you can do the buy and hold. You keep it, or you turn it, you flip it, you buy something that needs repairing or has cosmetic issues, you turn it around and then you sell it for profit. So this particular property, I didn't do good due diligence. I really tried to force my husband into taking it because I wanted it that bad. Initially, we were able to get a good rent on it, but because I wasn't conscious of the location, I wasn't conscious of what other rents in that area would be. And it just got to the point that I was starting to get desperate for tenants. And so often I rented the property out at just the cost of the mortgage, insurance, and taxes. So if something went wrong with the property, there was no money there. So when things would go wrong, I'd have to take money from other properties to take care of this one. Ultimately, in the end, we even, with the last tenants we had, were always late paying their rent. So I really should have kicked them out like months before we finally were able to move them. And then it turned out that the property had so many problems. We were expecting like a $30,000 profit. I think we ended up with 15, which is still good. I'm not complaining. But here's the thing. I didn't judge character well because I allowed my desperation to make sure that the property was filled. I compromised a lot of things that I shouldn't have. Like I compromised making sure that the tenants had good background. I compromised with just the rents. And so it ended up being a very valuable lesson that I'm taking with me now as I do more investing and work to grow our portfolio some more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at that, especially if you have disagreement with a spouse or a significant other, that can really erode your confidence at recovering from a mistake. And if I can encourage your listeners and your viewers, here's the thing to keep in mind is that you can't always pick the people who are going to be supportive and help you through a mistake. I hope you can. But if you can't, then we'll be talking about practices that can help you. But the bottom line is just what you said, Monica, that when you fail, you have to get up and you have to keep moving forward. Yes, that property was a problem. I may get another problem property. And if I do, I will handle it differently. But we're moving forward. So you make a mistake, you dust yourself off, you get that's where mentors and support system comes in. You get people around you who can help you go back through the experience, see where things could have been done better. Things could have been much more, maybe smoother, or you could have avoided certain mistakes, and then you just implement those things the next time around. Quitting doesn't give you the opportunity to try again. Mm-hmm. And so surround yourself with people who are going to help you analyze what you need to do different so that you can pick yourself up and start over again.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Were there any decisions that you regret?
Oh, a lot.
Oh dear.
Yes. If a book were written, I'm sure I've made a lot of poor decisions that other people have made. And one key decision that I made with the corporate housing business, we learned about a model where we could grow our inventory quickly without having to go through the process of purchasing. So we did a lot of subleasing, and we still do. That's still part of our model. Mm-hmm. It's a great model. However, the challenge that I ran into was that I was so excited with this. Remember I said earlier that business grew and multiplied rapidly?
Yes.
I didn't have the infrastructure in place to manage the funds. So you've heard the saying, easy come, easy go. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. I didn't have the experience, and I didn't have a team helping me to manage the situation. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I have lost from not working with a team. And one such situation that happened was that when the market was really booming, we had the Eagle Ford Shale, the fracking that was going on here in South Texas. And so what I did is I took out a number of apartments expecting to fill them. Then the Saudis said, whoa, we're not going to have any of this. And they glutted the market with oil. And overnight, those jobs disappeared. Overnight, my market disappeared. But I had all this inventory that I had taken out to satisfy a need that was no longer there. I would sit here in this office and I would weep. I'd come to my office and I would just weep because I didn't know how I was going to solve this problem. I was so, and my husband was upset, which didn't help. He was trying to be supportive, understand, but he was also scared. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't as involved in the business as I am. He's still kind of on the outside of the business. And I use him a lot for bouncing decisions off of him now. But back then, all I kept seeing was $10,000 draining out of my already, impoverished bank account. But I decided I wasn't going to break those leases, because number one, breaking leases usually ends up costing you 3 months of rent. So why not keep the leases, at least try to get them filled, even if it was at cost. And so that was a 3-month period of a lot of misery and pain. And I was working with a gentleman at the time. So that is a decision I terribly regret. But I was working with a guy at the time, and he said, I just want you to know, Anna, no matter what happens in your business, you're still valuable. And even to say that kind of makes me kind of like feel, because I felt so inadequate. I felt so foolish. I felt like my value was what was in my bank account. And this guy helped me to realize that I brought the value in, and that the bank account would recover. So yes, I had to borrow money. Yes, I had to take funds. Yes, I had to do things that I told myself I would never do. I mean, it wasn't illegal, nothing illegal. Just no cartels.
Just to be clear, right?
Yeah. But, taking out inventory, not really staying in tune with the culture to know what was coming down. And of course, the good news for me, if there's good news out of it, well, there's two things of good news. One, there was another company that did the exact same thing, except they were bigger, so they were losing more money than I was, just letting you know. I wasn't the only one. But second is that it became an extremely valuable lesson. It was a lesson in humility, to realize that I was subject to making decisions that had consequences I didn't want to deal with. But I think that's also a life lesson, because the more you do, the more mistakes you're liable to make. And you just have to accept the fact that those mistakes are going to come, and that while you want to mitigate loss to the very best you can, you have to go out and you have to keep doing what you're doing. I'm successful today because I didn't quit. I'm successful today because I found the means to take care of the problems. My credit score suffered for a while there, and that's something I'm still recovering from. But on the other hand, we're still standing, and we now have multiple opportunities in front of us to really grow our business. Would that have happened if I'd quit? Absolutely not.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly true. Yeah. Tell us about your biggest triumph.
My biggest triumph, let me think. It was in adopting that business model that helped me grow the company. Because that has been something that has helped me throughout my years. And another, I would say, big triumph is I actually hired a consulting team that I'm working with right now, helping me to grow the business. So those two things, plus having 7 kids, I would say that's
pretty good. Pretty amazing.
It is.
What was the business model? Do you mind telling me really quickly, like giving us a little bit of what that business model was that you adopted?
So it's the whole idea of subleasing, but also doing what they call, oh gosh, now I can't think of the name of it, but it's where you lease at your client leases the same way you're leasing. So for example, you go into an apartment community. So let's say I have somebody that comes to me and they have a team of 10 people that they need to house. So we research apartment communities in the location that can do that work, or they can, so depending on the requirements, we'll find how we can get that many people, if they want to double bunk them, if they want to give them each their own apartment. So we look to see what's available. Then the other thing you have to do is there's several pieces to it. So one is you have to arrange for furniture rental or purchase the furniture yourself. You have to arrange for bringing in linens, housewares, and all of that good stuff, because essentially you want to set it up like a fully furnished, fully serviced house. You set up the electrics, you set up your cable, the utilities, everything. And then you put that together. You figure out how much money you need to make on top of that for your company, for yourself, and then you present that to the client. And then they have a decision to make. I like working with companies because they understand the value. Working with individuals is a little tougher because a lot of times they're trying to save money over a hotel, and we're often comparable to a hotel in terms of price, but we're not always saving the money because what we offer is so much more space. I mean, we can do a lot of things price-wise comparable to a hotel. So that's the model. It's you go in, you sublease, you set everything up, and then you're managing it for your client, whether it's a company or an individual.
Okay. But you go in and you lease something first, and then you sublease that to your client. Is that what you're doing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, good. So you don't actually own the properties?
Not all of them. Not
Okay.
all of them. So, yeah, I had some that I owned, like those fourplexes. Those were all set up, fully furnished apartments. And we sold them as fully furnished, which was able to get us good profit on the sale of the property. Also created a little bit of competition here for us, but because we're so unique and we're so specialized, I don't worry about that.
Got
You know,
it. Okay.
the Airbnbs don't frighten me.
Yeah. Awesome. So I know in Extra we're going to do a deeper dive. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you were sabotaging yourself and kind of what you learned about that, right? And we're also going to talk about a really scary time when you were losing $10,000 a month and sort of how you pulled yourself out of that. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, good. So ladies, that's what we're going to cover in Extra. And I'm really excited about that conversation because I know there have been so many people that have been through, first of all, frequently we self-sabotage ourselves because of our own fears. And then the other piece is, I know most real estate investors have been through a time where they were like, how am I going to make it? And so I'm really excited to hear your story about what happened around that. So could you tell everybody how they can reach you, Anna?
Well, the best way to reach me is if you want to get in touch with me personally, I would go to my annascheller.com website. I'm still very active in the sales training space, and I would love to have a conversation with you about how you're approaching your investing, because everything is a sale. Everything is a sale. So you can go there, you can download my 10 sales tips, how to close more sales. And then you can also get on my calendar and we can have a fun conversation. And, you know, I can learn more about you and possibly you can learn more about me. There's always a lot to learn, isn't there? Yeah. So yeah, go to annascheller.com. Go ahead, download that it'll pop right up for you. I follow all the little guru rules about doing that stuff. But I would love to have a conversation with your viewers and just see how I might be able to help them close more sales, make more deals, because sales is all about the deal. And I love the deal, and you will too.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the free gift. And ladies, the link will be in the show notes, so take a look for that there. Okay. Are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
I'm ready. Ready.
Awesome. Okay, so Anna, tell us one super tip on getting started investing in real estate.
Do it anyway. You're going to be scared. Just do it. Just do it. I mean, you know, take the time to make sure that you can. But here's the thing. This is something I'm being encouraged to do. Don't be afraid to put out, you know, multiple offers. Here's why. You want to make sure that when you're offering, so you can make sure that you've got conditions to where you don't have to follow through if something doesn't happen. But if you wait for all the conditions to be right, then you're going to limit what you can do in the marketplace. So whether you're putting out 2 offers a week or 1 offer a week or 10 offers a week, just go ahead and do it. Because the means to accomplish it will come as you move forward.
And as you learn. That's awesome. And then what
Thank
is
you.
one strategy on being successful in real estate investing?
I think one of the greatest things, one of the most successful things I did was starting to take care of myself. It can be so it can be so urgent that you're so busy taking care of this and taking care of that and taking care of this and doing all this stuff that at the end of the day, your mind is spinning. And what happens is that you can work that way for a little while, but you really have to take the time to get your exercise, get your sleep, have your meditation, quiet time, however you spend that time, eat properly, make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family, because in the end, they're the ones you're serving. Not the person who's going to buy the real estate, or not the renter who's going to rent it, but ultimately it's for the personal goals that you have. And you're going to be a better investor if you are taking care of yourself and stepping back when you need to and breathing. We just did that before the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just take care of yourself. That's the most important person you have that's going to run the deals and meet your goals, whether things go well or things require some creative problem-solving thinking.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that actually leads us kind of into the next question, which is, what is one specific daily practice that you do that would say contributes to your personal success?
I would say that it is my quiet time. It is my quiet time. It's a place to really to pray, to ask God for wisdom. When I feel like things are spinning out of control, God is always so faithful to help me if I will take the time to speak to him, to read his word. Those are the things that are, I think, the most paramount to my success, because he promises never to leave me or forsake me. So the ultimate mentor, the ultimate support system is God himself. There's other things I do, but that's the bedrock of my life.
Wow. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Anna, this has been wonderful. I can't wait till we chat more in Extra. Ladies, so in Extra, we're going to be talking about how Anna got through a really, really tough time where she was losing $10,000 a month and what she did to pull out of that. And then also what she learned about how she was self-sabotaging her own business and how she pulled herself out of that too. So we're going to be talking about that in Extra. If you are already subscribed, stay tuned. We've got a lot more for you. If you're not, but you would like to be, go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. You get the first 7 days for free, so you can get this extra and as many as you can listen to in the first 7 days for free. And then you can decide if it's for you, you stay subscribed. And if it's not, nothing lost. You just get a lot of juicy content. So just go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. For those of you that are leaving Anna and I right now, thank you so much for joining us for this portion of the show. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, always remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to download my favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.